resources. I am so grateful you took the time to watch this video. Today, I have my amazing HR colleague, again, Ted Stanhope Jr., back to discuss the controversial topic of back to the office. Are you wanting to do a hybrid, remote, or in-office setup? What is really the best for your organization? That is truly the million-dollar question. So let's get started with this topic. So let me ask you this question. What is your organization's policy right now regarding back to the office? Are your employees fully back in the office 5 days a week? Is it a hybrid model or fully remote? So let's discuss. Ted, what is your organization doing with this policy?
So we are a very, very remote friendly organization. So most of our workforce work 100% remote, but we're also very flexible. So we do have some folks that work hybrid schedules where they come in for a couple days out of the week and then they're remote for 3 days out of the week. Sometimes it's like bi-weekly where they will work a 1 week remote, come in for like 2 days the following week. It's real flexible, honestly, and I think that type of environment um, helps tremendously when it comes to like retention of employees because who else offers that type of schedule? Some people do, some people don't. So, yeah. What about yours?
Well, we are in a hybrid environment, 3 days in the office and 2 days remote. So, and it is going to go next year into fully in the office. So fully 5 days a week. But there could be potentially some type of compromise. So we don't know. So I'm not sure. So kind of we're in a limbo right now. So every office, every organization has their own policies and procedures. And majority of the time is probably a hybrid environment. Um, and we are slowly seeing a lot of tech companies that are wanting to move into 3 days a week in the office, 2 days remote. And a lot of companies are now forcing their employees back in the office, and it's causing quite a stir, and it's been a bit of an issue. So let me give you an example. Amazon. We all know Amazon. And Amazon CEO has made it very clear that employees need to be in the office for many, many reasons. One of them being productivity. They want more productivity and they want collaboration, innovation, and they seem to think that a lot of that happens in the office. Do you agree with that, Ted? Do you agree with innovation, creativity, productivity is better in the office, or do you disagree?
I'm probably gonna have to disagree with that one, and because I can only just speak from my personal experiences, but I've found like when we worked hybrid schedules, usually you don't see someone for a long period of time, and then when you do see them and you're at the office, I mean, let's just be honest, you're gonna sit there and have like water cooler talk and catch up and see how everything's going, and the next thing you know, like if you do that with one or two, coworkers that you haven't seen in a hot minute, there's a good chunk of your day that's gone. So I'm going to say
Absolutely.
no on that one. Um, I mean, just think about all the innovations and things that went when we were working fully remote during COVID. I
Mm-hmm.
think so. I don't know. I don't agree with Amazon CEO's stance on that at all. And I think he probably needs to reevaluate that because we are seeing more of a hybrid model for a lot of these companies and jobs because people want that flexibility.
Yeah, I agree with you. I just think that there isn't a one size fits all solution. And it's really, as an organization, you have to make a decision for yourself. Ideally, I think a hybrid model works best. Hybrid works best for me. I don't want to be home every single day working fully remote, because I do believe that seeing your coworkers really is a great thing. I love it. I love being in the office. I love seeing my coworkers. But at the same time, the conversations, the water cooler conversations turn into 45-minute conversations, an hour, and then you end up doing all of your work at the end of your day. And so what ends up happening is, if you are a supervisor, if you're a manager, you end up doing all your work at home and you doing all the socializing at work. And those hours are wasted on conversations. Not that it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing to have those conversations, but there has to be boundaries. You don't want to spend 2 hours every single day talking to somebody and not doing your work. Those conversations could be cut back to maybe 5, 10 minutes or 15 minutes at the most. So I get what you're saying, because those conversations always seem to last longer when you're back in the office, especially if you haven't seen someone for a long, long time. So let's talk a little bit more on the next slide. So I did a little bit of a poll. So currently 51% of businesses require some or all employees to work in person. I thought that was interesting. Though just 36% of the workers have to come in 5 days a week, according to a survey sponsored by Resume Builder and conducted by Pollfish from August 17th through the 19th. Are you surprised by those stats, Ted?
Well, I'm just kind of disappointed that I'm part of that 36% of workers who are on site 5 days a week right now. Um,
Yeah. Are you really?
yeah, I'm 5 days a week on site right now. But hopefully that'll change. Honestly, it does kind of surprise me, that we're seeing more businesses kind of adapt to a new type of way we look at work and how work is being completed. So it's very interesting. Um, Honestly, I thought that maybe like the 5 days a week would probably go higher, because I know we've had a paradigm shift where a lot of people were requiring everyone to come back. I've even heard that some people were actually taking pay cuts to be able to stay 100% remote, and
Yes.
they were paying people more money who wanted to be on site, which
Yes.
was kind of crazy to think about. What about you?
Um, I'm not surprised by the stats, actually. I'm noticing more and more businesses are going back to the whole 5 days a week in the office. And fewer and fewer employers are choosing just either hybrid or fully remote. I'm not really seeing fully remote, especially for HR professionals. So have you seen also that same trend, Ted?
For the HR professional, I don't know. From like my company's standpoint, like obviously I'm an HR department of one, okay? But like the bigger gigantic company that we work with, most of their HR professionals are not on site. They work all over the United States in different states.
Yeah.
Um, from my, at least from my experience. But I do have friends that work remotely that are HR professionals, but more of like a hybrid type of deal where
Mhm.
either they are in the office 2 days a week, work 3 days, or
Mhm.
they're in office, or excuse me, remote 3 days, in office two, or flip that to where they're remote three or whatever. You know what I mean? Like they're one of the flips, the way their schedule works. Um, so yeah, I think it just kind of depends, like you said, not every organization is going to be able to do these type of schedules, and
Mhm.
it has to fit what you're trying to do.
Yes.
But I think for the most part in like the world of HR that we live within, let's be honest, most of the stuff that we do, technically we do remotely anyway, for the most part. So,
Yeah, like I said, not one size fits all situation here. Every organization has to make that decision on what works best for them. especially what the business they're in. You know, like if you are in the medical field, that's not going to happen. You know, if you are in a manufacturing setting, it's not going to be remote. So those are not realistic situations, expecting remote work in those settings. For me, I really do love the hybrid model. Like I said, the hybrid model offers a lot of flexibility. I think that, you know, being in the office 3 days a week is sufficient. Really, it's sufficient to do all the things that you need to do, to attend all the meetings you need to attend, and to collaborate with your coworkers. Those 2 days in the at home, I feel like I can really focus. I can focus on my projects. I can do all of the things that I've been, you know, not able to do while I'm in the office. If I'm meeting with people face to face, I'm not able to do the back end work. So I need to catch up on all the back end work. And I like to focus from home. And then the other thing I believe is when you're working from home, there's a level of the confidentiality. You're in your own home, you're in your own office with the door shut. That confidentiality piece, it's usually not somebody able to, like a coworker listening in on your conversations next door, or you know, in a cube next door to you. The confidentiality aspect of it, I really enjoy. I love being able to have conversations I know will not go out. You know, because I'm at home, you know, and the door is shut and nobody else can listen to my conversation ex- except my dog. But I trust Sammy will keep it confidential.
Yes, he's
So
been
anyway,
trained.
yeah. And then the other aspect I love is that less gossip, less office gossip, less drama. When you are working from home, you feel more relaxed. I feel more relaxed when I'm at home. Those times when I'm working from home, I don't feel like there is any drama that I have to deal with, office drama and politics or any type of gossip that's happening in the office. So what are your thoughts? What have you seen?
I mean, I loved it. I mean, when I was on my schedule, not only did I have the opportunity of working, um, a 4-day work week, three of those days being remote, one day being in office, um, it was perfect for me, honestly, because I could get up earlier if I wanted to
Mhm,
and start work. I didn't have to worry about commuting or is
mhm,
there going to be an accident on the road today or what is the weather looking like in the Midwest? Is it snowing? Is it gonna snow?
mhm.
I think all those things considered, it made it, obviously if you ask me what's my favorite, obviously I'm going to tell you like hybrid is all day, every day would fit
Yeah,
me perfectly.
yeah,
But there's just a lot of reasons behind it, right?
yeah,
Um, Personally, I like getting up early in the morning. And if I have that autonomy to where, hey, as long as I'm getting in my 8 hours a day, however that looks like, then shoot, I had to wake up at 6, work till noon, take a lunch break, come back in, be done by 3 o'clock. And then what else do I do for the rest of my day? Which I love,
yeah,
truly.
yeah, absolutely. That's a great point, Ted. So let's move forward and to the next poll. So best practices. I'm going to talk about some best practices that I think are really, really good things to remember when you are making that decision on whether you want your employees hybrid, fully in the office, remote, whatever the plan is. Always have a return to office plan. Make sure you have a plan and you know the strategy, and develop a strategy, use your company data to support your argument. So um, I would highly recommend that you use some type of employee survey to gauge what works best for your organization. So don't copy what other people are doing. Obviously, because a lot of companies, especially tech companies, they're copying what other tech companies are doing. So I really do not recommend that. Something that works for one company is not going to work for your company. So a lot of people, what they recommend, what SHRM recommends, is that you have an engagement survey, send out an employee survey, and then gather all the information and see what your employees prefer and want, and then make that decision. So ask yourself the question, will your return to office strategy be completed in phases? Are you putting these things into phases? If you are, please make sure you communicate that. So what is your end goal in mind? Is your end goal in mind getting everybody back in the office 5 days a week? If that is your end goal, make sure you communicate that with your employees so that there is no false expectations, no false, promises that, you're telling your employees, oh yeah, go ahead, we are gonna be fully remote, and then people move to another state and then they cannot be back in the office. So a lot of that has happened. A lot of people have moved away and ended up in a different state, and they're not able to move back to be in the office. So that is a big issue. So make sure you address that. So how many days are you expecting employees to be in the office? Make sure you communicate that. Communicate that with new hires right away in your postings. Make sure you don't waste anybody's time. If you put it in the postings, people know what you're expecting, then, they will apply if they want the job. So, and then also let people know which days you're requiring them to be in the office, if there are any. I know a lot of employers prefer certain days because that's when everybody else is in the office, like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays. Those are the days that are the most popular to be in the office. So when everybody else is in the office, be in the office, and then make sure you communicate that. And are you tracking all of this? Are you tracking your employees? Are you making sure that they are in the office when they're supposed to be? Now, this is a very controversial topic. So now some companies are starting to do that. And I really, truly do not recommend that. If you are tracking your employees, that shows a lack of trust. So that communicates bad management to me. So I would not recommend you tracking this. If you trust your employees to come in on those days, then you need to just trust them. Okay, how do you handle exceptions? Is there an exception process? I know that companies do have exceptions process and they have to go up the chains. So if somebody wants fully remote exceptions, they have to apply for those exceptions. So how are you doing that? So make sure that is clear to your employees. Now be transparent about the reason why return to the office is necessary and communicate that clearly. Because I know upper management hasn't always been very honest about why they want everybody to return to the office. Is it a financial need, a business need? Is it just simply because you don't trust your employees and you want to control them? So I think companies need to be transparent, and that's really important. And the last but not least, do not ignore concerns from employees. So let's, for example, if you have done an employee engagement survey and you ask them the question, which plan do you prefer? If you ask employees and employees have concerns about returning to the office, make sure you address those immediately. You need to address issues of exceptions. You need to address issues with employees who have potentially disability issues. Are you going to provide special accommodations for those special needs? So make sure you address the issues from employees. And this needs to be a case by case and address each employee case by case, and just don't ignore people. So the next slide, I want to talk about the HR Magazine article that I received from SHRM. SHRM had come out with an article called The Great Compromise. So they had done a poll. SHRM had done a poll, and they asked a lot of HR professionals this question. Is your employer compromising on return to the office policies. Why or why not? You know, we're talking about the evolution now of return to office policies. Do you believe your employer is compromising on this topic, Ted?
Ooh, that's a great question. Um, I say in a lot of ways, yes. And I think it's because they don't want to lose people that are already in place that know how to do their job. And I think that if they rock the boat too much, they're going to lose that person. And for them, it's almost like just it's a reasonable accommodation. Does it stop them? Does it prevent them from doing it? If your organization is literally results driven and you're giving your results, whether you're sitting 8 hours a day at a cubicle or in an office or you're working at home, as long as you're getting the job done, I would say they're compromising, but I think it's a very strategic compromise.
Absolutely. I would say the same for the most part. Employers are compromising. They are really looking at the bottom line and looking at if they really will lose a lot of employees if they don't compromise, right? So it was one of the things that the article mentioned is really interesting that I thought on page 36 of the article. So it costs about a third of an employee's salary to replace them. So if you think about how much it costs to replace an employee, if you were to lose not just 20 employees, like let's say you lose hundreds of employees, so you're talking about a third of that employee's salary. That is costing the company a lot of money, and it adds up very quickly. So if your company is not compromising, and if your company is demanding um, everybody return to the office, and they are not making compromises, this is gonna be a huge problem. You are going to have a huge turnover rate, and the cost is going to be astronomical, and you're going to have a hard time recruiting new hires. So please think about that before you know make demands from your employees. So the next thing I want to talk about is these statistics. So SHRM surveyed 1,500 HR professionals in June about their organization's return to office plans. Among those who have brought their previously transitioned remote workers back to the physical workplace, these were the top reasons that were cited. So 75% of those HR professionals says that the need for in-person collaboration and teamwork, there's a need for that. And then 69% of those who were surveyed said that workplace culture and employee engagement considerations, that was important. And then 65% said leadership preferences. 54% said desire to restore a sense of normalcy and routine. And then 41% said employee productivity concerns. So out of all of the 1,500 HR professionals, these are the reasons that were cited. So what did you think? What do you think, Ted, about these stats?
Uh, Man, I don't know. I think it's like our people seem to be like very pro on-site.
Yes.
Uh,
Now
I
remember,
don't know.
these are HR professionals answering these surveys, right?
Right.
So these are not people of all different, um, that are all different professions. So you're not talking about, manufacturing, you're not talking about medical professionals, you're talking strictly HR professionals. And I am one of those 1,500 people who took the survey.
Oh, okay. So you're the one I need to be having a conversation with about. Um, I mean, I can understand like some of the reasons and like the way it kind of reads. Um, I think the most concerning one is like productivity concerns. Like that's probably the big one. If that person's having productivity issues, Um, obviously that could be addressed easily, right? You talked about having a return to work plan. I remember when we were on it, like if our productivity slipped, then obviously working remote or hybrid was a privilege, not a right, right? Um,
And talking about productivity, there have been surveys that, back in 2020, they did surveys, and it showed that productivity was pretty high, right? Back in the when we were in COVID. But then recently in 2022, it shows that productivity has dropped. So that has been reversed a little bit. Productivity has dropped slowly since. So we are seeing a drop in productivity in 2022 and 2023. So I'm not really sure like exactly what those reasons might be. Why was productivity higher back in 2020? But then in 2022, when we started slowly, going back into the office, why would it be worse?
I don't know. I mean, that is a great question, and I don't know. It's kind of tough to think about it because I know that when we went on the fully remote schedule, I felt like my productivity shot through the roof because I had more time and I felt like I didn't have any of distractions. Um, I think realistically, maybe why it has gone down, and this is just my opinion. I think it's managers not managing properly and checking in on their employees to make sure everything's getting done and getting handled. Because obviously, like work-life balance is important, but at the end of the day, you still have to complete the job that you are being paid to do. And if you're not doing it, then that's where a manager needs to come in and check that. At least, hey, what's going on? Um, but maybe we're seeing a rise of silent quitters again, which is another thing, a reason. I know it kind of rose and it became an actual definition where people know what it is now.
Yes.
Maybe that's the reason for the decline in productivity that people are silent quitting.
And I also think that there is significant amount of stress because due to the economy, due to the lack of workers, like a lot of people are having to take on their own job and other people's jobs, right? They are overworked, stressed out, and so they are potentially silent quitting, potentially looking for another job. They are juggling multiple things at the same time and maybe not doing very well, juggling multiple things at the same time. So I think that it is potentially, I think it's people not able to juggle multiple things at the same time very well. If you are doing your own job and you're doing somebody else's job, how well are you going to be able to juggle both jobs? You know? So
True.
that is a big issue. That is a big issue. So at the end of the day, managers need to manage well and they need to set clear expectations. What is priority? So for your employees, what is the most important thing? So they know what to focus on. Because right now, so many people are juggling so many things at the same time. So for me, like I need to know what my manager wants me to focus on, right? If I have 4 or 5 projects going on at the same time, I need to know what to focus on first, what needs to be done first. I'm deadline driven person. So I am also very ambitious and I am always like, I never miss a deadline. So I need to be told exactly what to do. So I would just say that managers need to set clear expectations on that. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. Let's not make these mistakes. So the first thing I want to mention is don't mandate people to return to the office or else they will be terminated. So that is a big mistake. If you are a leader in your organization, if you are the CEO, this is not a good way to get your employees back into the office. Because if you mandate your employees to return to the office, this will backfire on you. It will lead to high turnover. It will lead to distrust. It will lead to incredibly disgruntled employees. and you will have a bunch of people who will turn on you. We've seen that over and over, right? With different companies. So you need to ask the question, are you ready to lose a lot of employees or end up with very disgruntled employees? So think about that before you mandate everyone to return back to the office. And then the other thing is make sure you are prepared. And if you're not prepared and you do not have a return to office plan, you do not have statistics to back up your argument, you're going to lose the argument, right? If employees are asking you the question, why? Why do you want us back in the office? Why now? What is your plan? You need to be prepared and be able to answer those questions, right? And you have to have statistics to back it up. So make sure you are prepared. Do not copy other people's return to the office plan. Do not copy what other people are doing. It doesn't work. You need to figure out what your company needs to do. You need to focus on your company, not what other people are doing. And then the other mistake is to not compromise. If you're not compromising with your employees, that will backfire. So we are in an era where we do have to compromise. We do have to do what is best. And if you do compromise, you will get happy employees and you will have a great experience. The employees will have a great experience and they will really, really work hard. And that's what it's all about. Anything you want to add, Ted, about the mistakes?
I mean, I've been a, a participant in that, an RTO plan.
Mhm.
Um, and I've seen what it done. I've seen what it could do to an organization, and it does causes, it causes division, it causes stress, a lot of panic within the organization. I mean, remember we had people that just did not come back. They resigned instead of coming back, just because they had their own concerns. So I think as long as you can come to a compromise with your employee and your employers working together, I think it's a win-win for everyone. But I think if you force it and you're not compromising,
Mhm.
um, that's where you're just opening up a can of worms that's a lot of organizations aren't ready for. I mean, I've seen a mass exodus happen when I was working for a law firm, you
Mhm.
know, and everyone was like, okay, you don't want to compromise, and we're out. And I saw a whole legal paralegal room become a ghost town because of it. And that shuts down your operation. You can't move forward. You just have to go back to the drawing board. So, um, yeah, I would just be very, very cautious about trying to force it and be open to the idea of hybrid because I think that's a really good compromise. And it should help in the long run.
Great. Well, those are all the things that I have. Here are the references, all the stuff that I pulled from the SHRM website. I just want to thank you so much for joining us today. Please leave comments below. You can connect with Ted on the link right here. And you can also, send me an email. I will share that email address with you. So see you next time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye, Ted.
Bye.